Welcome to our 46th Salon, feedback about the gifts of the Conference of the Association of the Study of Women in Mythology and a Global Day of Sisterhood. In the series from the Maternal Gift Economy Breaking Through, hosted by Genevieve Vaughn and the International Feminists for a Gift Economy. I'm Letitia Layson, your moderator. We have a wonderful panel for you today. Sid Rieger, Maya Vassallo, Marie Sharp, Judith Woke, Guadalupe Urbina, and Maria Suarez Toro. In a minute, I'll introduce our guests and then turn the mic over to them. We'll listen to their presentations. There'll be a short video. And at the end of the presentations, we'll take questions. Our first introduction is Maya Vassallo, who is with us today from Rome, Italy. She started the Goddess Temple of Rome and its community with the intent of creating healthier models of existence, educating participants towards a new social paradigm. She provides courses of study and research based on the matristic values of care, gift economy, peaceful communication, partnership, respect for the planet, and love of life in all its forms. Our next panelist is Maria Sharp. She's an interfaith minister, priestess in residence at the temple dedicated to the goddess Sekhmet outside of Las Vegas, Nevada. She is an artist, a chef, a ceremonialist that has worked in large-scale theme prop constructions and fabrication, visual, sacred sound, art, and private chef venues for over a decade, serving Las Vegas and several other localities around the world. We are just really excited to have her with us. She has a living and perpetuating the arts of sanctuary, those creative and sacred art expressions that offer the sanctuary of sustainable and compassionate mindful living methods, body, speech, and mind. Welcome, Aria. Judith Woke is involved in political spiritual activism after retiring from the Canadian Federal Public Service. With degrees in anthropology and law, she has led workshops and classes on reframing women in the Bible in search of the divine feminine, Jewish end-of-life practices, and others. Her recent publication is The Truth of Motherhood, Choosing to be Child-Free. Welcome, Judith. Guadalupe Urbina is well known for her work as a singer, a composer, as a researcher of oral tradition in her region, which is Costa Rica, but also has ventured into painting, children's stories, and poetry as an extension of her musicality. She's also an author. She's a composer and a beautiful singer. Maria Suarez Toro is a feminist journalist, an activist in defense of human rights, and an educator. She was born in Puerto Rico and has been a resident of San Jose, Costa Rica for close to 50 years. She was co-director of the Feminist International Radio Endeavor, FIRE, from 1991 to 2011, of which she was co-founder. She worked as an educator in literacy in many countries in Central America in the 70s and 80s. She has many other journalistic accolades, and we welcome you. You can read more of these bios complete on our website. Last but not least, and our first speaker is Sid Rieger. Sid Rieger is an artist, an educator, an independent scholar whose passions are prehistoric arts, matrifocal cultures, mythology, animal mysteries. Now semi-retired, She still teaches relating these topics to women's spiritual journeys. She is co-founder and president of the Association of the Study of Women in Mythology, and she's my friend. So welcome, Sid. We've known each other since the mid-90s, so we're kind of old. So Sid, please.
Yes, we're good friends, and lucky me is what I would say to that, Letitia. I want to tell you just a little bit about the Association for the Study of Women in Mythology. And first, I want to say just how honored I am to be able to be here among this group of folks who are focusing on some of the most important ideas that we have to carry forward in the world. We overlap, but I was unable to attend on Sunday following our conference because I was taking apart the conference. But that's often the case when you organize events. So this is our first chance to really be present together in this kind of conversation. And I was saying to Letitia the other day that I think that ASWIM, as we call it, the Association for the Study of Women and Mythology, is one of the most easily misunderstood or misattributed organizations I've ever been part of. And in order to explain it a little bit, I just need to tell you a bit of an origin story on the organization. Once upon a time, I was in Bloomington, Indiana, and one of my things that I did was I helped to produce the National Women's Music Festival there. I told them I would help them out if they would let me be in charge of all of the workshops and if I could include women's spirituality in the workshop series. So right from the beginning, I had to get an organization going where we could have conversations around things that were interesting to me. And one of the first things that happened there was a young graduate student who was doing her work in the goddess in the landscape, was what she was calling it. She was looking at the landscape of the area of the Midwest. It was amazing. And she could get absolutely no support from her university, and she eventually left. And of course, she had folks saying, there is no such thing. Don't try to do that. You want to do something else. Because institutions tend to protect themselves more than they are willing to accommodate the little wild idea. And it's the little wild idea that I was in love with. And I got that term from another friend of mine, Kay Gardner, who she and I would talk sometimes about these desires to have conversations that took us beyond the 101 level, where I have to explain, oh, this is what I do. I'm an adult educator. This is what goddess spirituality is, or this is what the maternal gift economy is. In other words, we didn't want to have to continually explain ourselves to one another. We wanted to be able to get right into it and say, what are you doing? What are you learning? Where are your bumps in the road? What can we do to fix this? So they were the pragmatic next step conversations. And my friend Kay is the one who would say, you have that look in your eye. I think you found another little wild idea. So I was always interested in the simple task of getting all the most interesting women in the world together in one very large tent and offering up the tea and letting them fix things, because I know that this is the group that can do it. So a little bit later, fast forward a couple of years, and I met Patricia Monahan, who was a scholar of Celtic mythology, goddess mythology, meditation, and she was also a wonderful poet and a teacher. And Pat and I got our heads together a little bit, and in a conversation, we both said, basically at the same time, this is the kind of conversation that's too good to let go of. We need to fix this. So we started a listserv where within a couple of years, we had like 250 women on that listserv from around the world who were all interested in, what are you doing with goddess mythology? What are you doing for the earth? What are you doing for the animals? And it all kind of came together and people could feed each other's passions. And then Pat came back to me and said, we've reached the point that we've done as much as we can with this listserv, and now we need a real bona fide nonprofit. And my eyes rolled back in my head, probably. And she said, no, we have to take this next step. We need an organization, because now it's time to start planning our conferences and our in-person gatherings, which just thrilled me anyway. And she said, you're going to be president and I'm going to be vice president. And I went, huh? But it was hard to say no to her. And then she said, I have a name for this organization. I said, fine. She said, we're going to call it the Association for the Study of Women and Mythology. And I went, what? And she said, it's the most innocuous name. Nobody will really understand what we're doing. And it's the only way that our academic presenters are going to get support from their institutions. If they go in there with a name that is something, says something like divine feminine or goddess or priestess or whatever other that language is, they're not going to support that. But the Association for the Study of Women and Mythology sounds like we're going to be sitting around drinking tea and, talking about Odysseus or something, and it'll be so boring that they will give support to their people to come to this conference. She was a genius. She was a genius in many ways, because some of the rest of what ASWIM does is we not only have conferences where I want to still see us bring together all of the disciplines, all of the arts, all of the educators, the people who are passionate about the piece that they're doing and can learn from reaching across to somebody else who's doing something very different. And so not only do we do that online, where we have our own series of scholar salons now, and our scholar salons, unlike this wonderful gathering, are 1 hour opportunities to hear from one scholar who presents half the time, and then we have discussion and conversation half the time. So it really continues to stimulate further collaboration and further continuation of different kinds of ideas. And the other thing that Pat started was we began some awards. Somehow we have, our book award has now come to the attention of some major publishers, which is very odd to me, because I still think we're, sitting around one table and doing the thing we've always been doing. But we're in a position to be doing things that nobody else really can, because we can offer support for something like the day that you all had on Sunday. We're there anyway, for heaven's sakes. Let's open the gates. That's the kind of gift we have to offer, is that we can create a space that's collaborative and brings in things like the matriarchal studies folks and people who are interested in animal rights and that kind of thing. We can do whatever it takes to build a bigger tent all the time. So that's all I have to say about us, I think. I'm going to put a notice. We're a membership organization. That's mostly how we find folks. It's mostly still word of mouth. Go find somebody that doesn't know about us yet, knock on their door and say, join this organization. Because the other thing, because we're who we are, we haven't raised our dues for 15 years now. So we just struggle along and keep doing what we do. And it leads me to be able to spend time like this with such auspicious and wonderful presenters as you all, and to discuss some of the most important little wild ideas I can think of. So thank you, Letitia.
Thank you so much, Sid. And yes, please do put information into the chat so that women can find you and the organization. And I would like to add that if you haven't experienced an ASWIM conference or symposium, you definitely want to do that. Our next group of speakers, starting with Maya Vasilo de Florio, all presented a paper at ASWIM. And then at the end of that, we produced an event with the network that we have here of the International Feminists for a Gifted Economy called A Global Day of Sisterhood. So each of them will also speak for about 10 minutes. After Maya, we're going to take a break and watch a video so that you can see a little bit about what a Global Day of Sisterhood looked like. So Sid and Maya will be seeing this for the first time along with you. So Maya, please.
Thank you, Letitia, and thank you, Sid, for the beautiful story about Association for Women in Mythology, which I didn't know. So it was very interesting for me to know how it was born. And I should have been there in person. I should have at the conference. It was such an honor for me to be invited. And I was so happy and enthusiastic to have the possibility to share wisdom and to meet other amazing women of all ages from all over the world, of any kind of background. We are so different between each other, and it was such a bliss for me to have had this opportunity. But because of bureaucracy between Italy and the US, I wasn't able to come. And funny enough, it was because my certificate for because I couldn't be vaccinated, I'm unable to be vaccinated, was recognized in US, but was not recognized within Italy. So there was a bureaucratic gap between Italy and US, and I couldn't come. And just the day I would have come back, they would have retired everything. So everything was free. So I took it as a sign of the opportunity to be resilient, as we women have always been required to be. And so I developed, I took this occasion to become more resilient. And I had prepared everything. So I registered my talk. I talked about Aphrodite as goddess of waters, of all waters. She is known by the majority of people as a disempowered woman, just as the goddess of love. But I wanted to bring this aspect of her, because she is the very mother sea, she is the very mother water, to which the goddess temple of Rome is dedicated. So I registered my talk, and Letitia and all the sisters were amazing in holding the space for me for the sadness I was experiencing before, because I couldn't come. So it was like the falling of the dream for me. But they were so amazing in including me anyhow. And we co-created the ceremony of the Day for Global Sisterhood. And up until the end, I didn't know I wouldn't be able to come. So I dedicated to it fully, with all my heart, with all my being. I got inspiration. And at the end, when I knew I couldn't come, I would have expected to not to be cut off, because this is not the environment, but my wound, my personal wound as a woman especially, would have suggested that, okay, I'm useless now. While I was included anyhow, I was present anyhow, and this was so moving for me. So I had a great lesson of sisterhood, even with me not being present, and it was so moving for me. Yes, of course, I missed the opportunity to meet you all in flesh and bones, to hug, to see each other's, to look into each other's eyes. I missed it, and I still regret it a lot. But I felt so included, I felt so supported, I felt so loved and wanted, that I said, okay, this is sisterhood. When no woman leaves another woman behind. So this was an example of power with, we are all together. And as a priestess, founder of the first goddess temple of Italy in such a city as Rome, which is, we can say, the symbol of patriarchy in a certain sense. I'm used to welcome people, to teach to people, to hold the community. And personally, my difficulty is to be seen more than a teacher, beyond my role as a teacher or as a how to say, as the weaver of the community, to be seen as a sister. So I think Association for Studies on Women in Mythology and the conference and this group for me was a great example of how precious these spaces for women are. These spaces where we can be all equal, even if we are responsible, because each one of us, I've heard the stories while we were preparing the ceremony, I heard the stories of many of each other. And I said, oh, wow, amazing women from all over the world, each one taking responsibility to nourish her own community, to help people step out of patriarchy and crafting in some way altogether a new and healthier way of staying in the world, which is inspired to matriarchy, by matriarchy. So I said, we are all pioneers in that, in a certain sense, and we need so much to connect to each other. So I felt this was not a chance, not just it was meant to be that we had to create this day for the celebration of global sisterhood soon after the conference on the waters, speaking about the waters, because we women, we have been parted and how to say, put into containers, isolated for centuries. But what we are is like the water. We have to learn again to be like water. For me, water is Aphrodite herself, and she is the teacher and the inspirer of the principles of love and connection and care and holding. And so I think we are learning, we are crafting together, we are creating together a new flow. We are seeking new paths. We are learning again, we are, and that's what we are doing, connecting from all over the world. Water is keeps memories, and that's what we are doing. We are reclaiming the memories, like launching the nets into the sea of memory, into the abyss that every one of us has within, and recuperate all the ancient wisdom that we shared millennia ago. And also water is the transmitter, so not only the keeper of the memories, but also the element through which all these informations can be stored and transported through time and space. For example, we can get a message, a memory from a woman from millennia ago in the same waters. She bathed and cried and laughed and had connection with the same waters in which we bathe today. So her informations, the messages she sent in a bottle or without a bottle, we are getting it now in another part of the world, in another era, and that's beautiful. So we women are again doing what we are born to do, to unify, to create connections. And that's what I felt. That was my experience of this planning and this creation of this everything, of this so much, which was so Aphrodisiac for me, and so full of love, so full of care. So yeah, that was my personal experience, and I want to thank each and every one of you for allowing this, because I think this is a political act that each one of us is doing to go past the loneliness, go past the isolation, go past envy, of which we women are in charge, or we are blamed for this, or which burns within us. We are healing our wounds, and we are doing it singularly, but also all together. So thank you for
Yes,
this.
that's so beautiful, Maya. And it's a perfect, your talk and your gift of your open heart is a beautiful segue into you being able to see for the first time the fruits of our combined labor. And I think you'll be delighted. So thank you so much, Maya, for your heartfelt offering. And we are so sorry that you couldn't be with us in person, but soon enough, we'll get to hug you physically. So Diane, would you please cue up the video?
I invite you to come Sunday to the International Feminists for a Gift Economy, Maternal Gift Economy Movement Day of Solidarity, and be sure you go home with a copy of the pamphlet on ways to you can move into the gift economy.
Le daré agua del llanto del mundo. Viajas en el viento por el espacio abierto. A una semilla nadie le enseña a crecer. Diseño perfecto de la creación. A una semilla nadie le enseña a crecer. Este es un rezo por la libertad. Este es un rezo por la diversidad.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Letitia. I'm part of the International Feminists for the Gift Economy, and we are so happy that you decided to stay and be with us. This is not going to be a lecture day. Yay! Today is going to be a really interactive day. It's a day for us to really express our hearts, to be together, and most importantly, to see the embodiment of the maternal gift economy of women of our network who've been living it in their own lives, breaking through in their own field of study. And it's just the beingness of it. Jen always says that it's our prime program. It's the original matrix. It's the original message. So we don't so much have to figure things out as to trust the deepest memory that we have and to remember to connect with the earth, our mother, with the mother at the center. I'll introduce us Judith Wolf, Maria Suarez, Guadalupe Urbina, Aria Marie-Sharp.
Really, the zombie process is patriarchy and capitalism feeding on that. And I said to one of our sisters earlier that when the mountain moves, the roads and the tunnels and the buildings all collapse. And we are that mountain. That's what I wanted to share.
Yes.
And the only other thing I want to say, goodbye.
My name is Saskia, and I'm from Germany, from Berlin. Came quite a long way, but it was absolutely worth the trip. And yeah, I'm just very grateful to have gotten the chance to meet all of you and to dive so much into that wonderful ocean. And so it feels totally meaningful, and not only for me personally, but for the greatest meaning of life. And I really wish and pray for that this can touch everyone here on earth, everyone. And yeah, I think what it's really about goes beyond words, and that's why I would rather sing.
Shiva, Shiva, Shivaya. Shiva, 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 Shiva. Down those valleys in the desert, by the water, here and now, you and I, one rope, one feet, one rope, one feet, one loaf, one try. Listen, speak your truth in peace and harmony.
April, we have time if you wanna get up and get to do a break. If you already do, look at you.
Truly this beloved uniqueness and a skill in life that each of us has. And so I feel this braid that I'm physically braiding now that I felt, that I saw in my heart.
It feels like our way of uniting spirituality back into our language. When cut from those first languages, so much was lost. But that we have gotten here to this point, to be able to sit with each other, to recognize, okay, I might be academic. Okay, I might be a little bit more musician. Okay, I might be this. But we're all in the same room, gifting our unique skills. Somehow, some way, if we have a question, we have a love, we have an idea, how do I put this gift economy into my life? How does the global sisterhood continue? We'll find a way because we are a way.
As I was listening to Aria, and also Maria, that whole thing about action, my thing in this was to have diversity in this, to totally have diversity, not just the color of your skin, but also diversity in if a person, like the elders and the maidens and the mothers, and then having that to be included as well.
Judith, about this day, is there anything you'd like to close with as your participation of one of the organizers of what you'd like the women to go home with?
Go home with inspiration.
How about you, Guadalupe?
Well, I think I was praying and I was not thinking in many things, just telling a story about my grandmother, who was a very strict person. And she was alone here, she was 87 and she had a heart attack, is that a name? No.
Yeah.
No, it's a brain
Stroke. Oh, stroke.
Brain stroke. She couldn't walk very well. But my mother said always, Mama, why don't you cut your hair? It's so hard just to brush this long hair. And she said something. My mother was trying to help us because we, the children, had to do this work to brush her hair. And she said, why? That's why I have grandchildren. So it's something that made me just remember that we have committed with our families, with our ancestors. At the same time, I want to reinforce the invitation that Maria has made just to go to Costa Rica with this meeting. But I think it's important because we are the lungs of the world.
And it's necessary to go to look for the lungs. We have been traveling a lot from the lungs of the planet to the cancers of the planet. We have been traveling a lot to different cities. We have seen big buildings, big cars, incredible things, but what about you? To get out of this comfort life and go and see what's happening with the lungs of the planets, what we are doing to survive in the middle of this war against the lungs of the planet. Because that's we come to life breathing, and we go out of life breathing. And we need to have consciousness. We need to be aware about what to do to have a good breathing in our life.
Thank you for that, Diane. And at this point, I'd like to invite Aria to give her part of this presentation. Aria, can you unmute, please?
Good morning. Good morning from Las Vegas. I just traveled here last night from the Temple of Goddess Spirituality dedicated to Sekhmet. So I came back into the Meadows, Las Vegas, the Meadows, which is homelands of the Paiute and the Shoshone and many, many migrating bands. I'd want to say good morning, hello. I'm so grateful to be in the same space with you all. I'm very grateful. This is the place, the space of all love and grace, I think, that the sisters meet in. I'm very grateful for the gifts of the conference, that we call ASWAM, meeting Sid and the founders and so many different people, so many different sisters and mothers and grandmothers and aunties supporting each other. And it was a realm that really, for myself, I sort of skirted around for many years. I was in the military. I came from military people. I came from multicultural people, and witnessing in that space colonialism and the heaviness of colonialism, the heavy-handedness of colonialism. I stayed out of certain spaces and places. So I'm very grateful that Genevieve encouraged me to wander my way back to some of the lands of my birth, which is Syracuse. I was born actually in Holyoke, Massachusetts. So to go back to the lands and to sit in this conference of women from academia, from utilizing sound therapy and their voice and meditation and the indigenous learnings of the land was amazing. And I'm very grateful because it is nourishing. It is nourishing and it's sustaining. And Maya, your portion in honoring us with what ceremonies would we like to get together off the cuff, right? These women, we don't know how many are coming. We're going to do this after the beautiful association of the study of women and myths. And how do we do that? Well, it's so interesting because the art of mothering, the gifting nature, the nourishing and sustaining, I experienced from the very beginning all the way through to the end, which was magnificent. As I saw all of these wonderful beings in ASWAM come from different spaces and graces, from the heart of truth, offering what they knew with their relationship for the waters, be it mythic, be it physical, be it psychological. These are the relationships of water that we are gifted. And to see so many offer that, for me, is a really inspiring and motivating. I was born on a river. I was born on the Connecticut River in Providence Hospital in Massachusetts, in Western Massachusetts. And I seem lately in the past 12 years to be continually invited back to be in ceremony in the land of my birth. And I thought about that. I thought about, okay. Aswam, all right, Association for the Study of Women and Mythology. How wonderful, Sid, that you and so many people came up with this offering, this buffet to learn in from our sisters, with our grandmothers, like Ruthie, Oma Ruthie, I just give you props to listen to her speak, whether it was on the maternal gift economy or on the relationship with water, was a true pleasure. So I'm wearing these braids. I just want to bring you into the weaving on the Global Day of Sisterhood, this idea of Maya's. And this is one of the beautiful arts, the artistry of braiding our will, our ideas together. So whether it's the gifts of the conference, that is ASWAM, or the Day of Global Sisterhood, I felt an internal and external, within and around weaving of our heart's truth, of the heart water's truth. The emotion, the energy in motion, that is water. And I say thank you. I'm going to offer this little song of gratitude for you all, because I look forward to actually hearing Judith and Guadalupe and Maria. But I just want to say, I feel that I will be learning for the rest of my life from walking with you together. Okay? And for me, that whole opportunity to speak with, for, about, to the waters is what we have here. The waters that run through us, that flow through us. Whether it's the tears of Sekhmet, the flowing ocean and rivers developed, with the scallop of Aphrodite coming out of it. We have this wonderful connection that is the memories of water. And the memories of water are as long as Mother's life, Mother's Earth's life. And so that connection within and around us, that connection is so warm-hearted, so precious, that I say thank you. And I look forward to the next ASWAM. I look forward to people understanding more about the nourishing and sustainment that comes from the maternal gifting, that comes from the lineage of the sisters, the mothers, the aunties, the grandmothers. And those waters, every single time, I encourage you, every single time that you drink water, that you pass water. We actually have snow melt in the desert, which is an amazing occurrence. I literally got tied up in it. I couldn't leave because you could feel it. If you walk a certain direction, you could feel the water, the coolness calling you. And then you come up on a small stream running through the desert that's all the way, miles and miles away, up from this mountain, this snow melt. And to feel that call of kinship, of sisterhood. So I just offer, I say thank you, thank you, thank you. And this song that I sang for the Global Day of Sisterhood, it's one that a part of its verses actually came from my time at the Goddess Temple, and my time going from one community to another, carrying waters from those communities back and forth. Lian Minimani means walks with water. And there is a spiritual pollination that happens when we visit each other, when we speak to each other, whether it's through these zeros and ones or in person at the Seneca Falls, right? And so I offer this gratitude with the waters that I do have with me, Sid, from the Seneca Cayuga Canal. And I thought it would be nice to include them in this ceremony of the gift economy and add that to the blessings of the temple. So thank you for the gifts of the conference. Thank you for the gift economy. I'm so thankful for this time. I'm so grateful for this life. Here and now, you and I, one world, one heartbeat, one love, one tribe. Yes, we're one world, one heartbeat, one love, one tribe. Oh, I'm so thankful for this time. I'm so grateful for this life. Here and now, you and I, one world, one heartbeat, one love, one tribe. Yes, we're one world, one heartbeat, one love, one tribe. Whether up those mountains or down those valleys and the desert, down the waters, here and now, you and I, one world, one heartbeat, one love, one tribe. Whether up those mountains or down those valleys in the desert or by the waters, here and now, you and I, one world, one heartbeat, one love, one tribe. Yes, we're one world, one heartbeat, one love, one tribe. Listen, speak your truth in peace and harmony. Each thought a new day, a new way. I'm thinking, speak your truth in peace and harmony. Each thought a new day, a new way. I'm living here and now. You and I, one world, one heartbeat, one love, one tribe. Yes, we're one world, one heartbeat, one love, one tribe. Listen, speak your truth in peace and harmony. Each thought a new day, a new way of giving. Here and now, you and I, one world, one heartbeat, one love, one tribe. Yes, we're one world, one heartbeat, one love, one tribe. Always one world, one heartbeat, one love, one tribe. Infinite blessings.
Thank you so much, Aria. One heartbeat, indeed. Okay, so I'm going to pass the mic to Judith. Aria, thank you so much for that beautiful song.
So what can I say about the many gifts of this conference? My experience of ASWIM, this time I've been to previous ASWIM conferences, and I'm really was excited about the fact that they're now happening again. The theme was water, emotion, motion. One feature of water is flow, and so I'm offering the gift of spontaneity today. I don't have a PowerPoint, although I do have some props. This is the conference. Can you see it? This is the conference program. And my welcome to the conference, I walked in the door of the hotel and was instantly enveloped in an enormous hug from Aria. And before I even went up to my room, we were sharing our mutual love of drums and drumming. And so the conference went on from there. The gifts of the conference given and received, there was the gift of many kinds of learnings. There was the gift of old and new friends. I'm at the giveaway stage of my life, not the accumulation stage, but I did come home with a few valued treasures. I got a little bird, a hummingbird, several posters, a number of books, including the one about gift economy, and some earrings. I don't know if you can see that, but they're tarot cards. The one of the gifts to me was being able to research and then present my talk, which was on wells in the Hebrew Bible. That's reframing Hebrew biblical stories is one of my hobbies now that I'm retired. I found the other presentations also really exciting. There were several others on Paleolithic and Neolithic, and a number on various other cultures, and the exploration of the various aspects of water. The keynote speakers were really inspirational. The cleaning up rivers, talking about accessing the grandmothers and looking for inspiration from our ancestors. And then on Sunday, when we had the Global Day of Sisterhood, it was a time for being witnessed. And we went around the circle and everyone was witnessed by all of the women there. And that was a really memorable occasion. So as you heard me say on the video, go home with, leave here with inspiration. That's a gift of the International Feminists for a Gift Economy, of the Maternal Gift Economy movement, and of the Association for the Study of Women in Mythology. And if there's any questions, you'll be talking to me later.
Thank you so much, Judith. I love the gifts that you brought home for yourself, in addition to being in the stage of letting go. I think I'm close to that stage too. Way too much stuff. It was great to see you again. Okay, so Guadalupe, are you ready? Can you unmute?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, everyone. It's good to be here. So I have many things to say about this opportunity. First of all, thank you very much again, because I had the possibility to go to Syracuse and to participate in this conference. It was the first time for me to go to this kind of activities. As you know, I was a little bit worried because I have, it's different to speak or to read English, but listening conferences is not always easy. But anyway, I tried just to put all my attention, and I can say that I took a really, I could take advantage of most of the things that I was listening or participating in. I tried to write some things just to be clearly, and I just ask you for some minutes. Just give me a second. Give me a second to find. I write that because otherwise I have to use my brain thinking and the next idea. So I just try to, I want to clear with this. After to give thanks again, because I could go to Syracuse, I want to thank the Maternal Gifts Economy movement for this great opportunity. This is the first time that I attend a conference where the waters, spirituality, and ancestry were in the hands, mouths, eyes, and feelings of women. I couldn't attend all the scheduled conferences and workshops because it was too much for me, but the ones that I went to gave me new perspective on my work as an artist and as a creator. The horizon of my knowledge and feelings expanded. I have some limitations with the language, as I told you, but I enjoy most of the things, everything there. I have a lot of admiration for the older matriarchs because I can feel and smell the teachings, the experiences. And in this conference, there were exceptional women with a lot of ancestral wisdom. I am pleasantly surprised by the number of women from indigenous peoples, the women of the native nations combined with great wisdom, spirituality, and committing to the defense of their territories, the assets of Mother Earth. And I saw and I was listening women of the Ramapols, the Napa Nation, Onondagas, Sami, Inuit, Hawaiian, Afro-descendant, Afro-mestizas, and white women able to speak about the importance of making visible the privilege of white supremacy to advance diverse interaction and weaving to embrace Mother Earth and take care of our lives, our countries, and above all, the waters of the planet that sustains us alive. We live in challenging time, and it is very important to feel part of a tribe of politically loving and lovingly powerful, determined, and daring and transgressive women. Thanks for that. Then realizing that there are many women who have their sacred places where they are priestesses. And I realized that this jungle in the garden where I live is a great temple, and that I want to learn to manage it from that sense of sacredness that Casa Madre Monte has, the place where I live. I do not know if I can be a priestess or if there is knowledge that I must acquire to be one. All these questions and invitations to learn have been a gift that I received from the conference, especially when I meet Aria and the energy she unfurls from her when she talks, sings, and accompanies herself with percussion from the place of her wisdom. I am an artivist. My connection to ancestral knowledge is very strong call, and all my work revolves around the recovery of our memory in order to assume, committing, and love with the transformation of our life on our planet. That begins with the disarticulation of patriarchy and the visibility of our key contributions to life, to live a life of gratitude for the gift of our Mother Earth, the care and the denunciation of the depredation and destruction of all our waters. Then I bring to my heart to the delicacy, the warmth of some of the women I met there, humble and wise women who became close in a couple of days, like water. When the water comes, everybody is wet. Thank you for the music, the poetry, the movies, the exhibition, and the books that were selling there, and other accessories that bring us closer and reconnect. I also want to thank the conference team that made the space possible for the sorority day that the women of the Maternal gift movement carried out. The video, the article by Maria Suarez are a clear example of that meeting full of enthusiasm, interest, and search of the women who every day move in the direction of the new paradigms of the gifts of life, of the generosity of Mother Earth and of Mother Waters, and of the new paradigms. Thank you very much. And it was an incredible experience for me, and I keep in my soul, in my mind, in my body, all these experiences just to use it in the time that is coming. And this experience made me a richer woman. And I appreciate that a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Guadalupe. That was beautiful. It was so good to meet you in person. So Maria, to you, my friend.
So all of the previous speakers, they're very hard to follow because I'm going to take you to the bottom of the ocean and I'm going to bring you to my little community in the Southern Caribbean of Costa Rica after listening to these brilliant presentations that I share deeply about what it meant to be in the conference and to meet all those women. That's why I want to use my time to speak about the other level that I know we all share, and that has to do with having come back from that conference and what it has meant to us in the Southern Caribbean and in the work we do in the ocean. Before I do that, I'm going to try to present to you art that I did many years ago about the planet without the waters of the ocean. And I hope you can appreciate it. I'm turning the camera. It's my vision of the planet without the waters of the ocean, and it's pretty devastating. So it has motivated me to become an ocean lady, as they call me. And I have to say that for me and my community here in the Southern Caribbean, having participated in this conference organized by, I call it ashram, I keep calling it that, and people keep saying, what are you talking about? Because it was kind of like an ashram of women from all walks of life, as all of you have expressed before. But this conference turned out to be an amazing gift, not only to me and to my community at so many levels, that I'm going to try to express to you a few of them that started even before I got there. And let me begin by giving you some context. When I was invited by the Feminists for the Maternal gift economy and also the organizers of the conference, and I saw the title about the waters, I immediately said to my colleagues in the Centro Comunitario de Buceo, it's about waters, and they said you have to be there. And I had not a single doubt that that was my conference. And as I said at the conference itself, I had never been to a conference where the main topic was the waters and the waters of the ocean so present. And that was not only significant for me, but also for the youth in Costa Rica that I work with in both the protection of the ocean and the conservation of the ocean, but also of the culture of the marine life of coastal communities such as the one where I live, where indigenous and Afro descendants historically have kept one of the most amazing corners of the globe, which is the Southern Caribbean, where 89% of the land is in some kind of protection because these two communities left us what we have today. Turtles, corals, forests, you name it. And the most extensive and most populated indigenous territory in Costa Rica that has the most reserves of water in all of the country. This is a place that is so preserved historically by the people who first occupied it and kept it that way that it is now desired by all of the superpowers that are depleting the ocean and depleting the cultures that made our planet continue being what it is in terms of our responsibility as a species. My paper that I presented was about ancestral and matriarchal power that I created out of my own imagination and the mythology of the Afro-descendant community that is seeking for the identity of sunken ships in the oceans of our place that might belong to slave ships in a place and a country that claims that there were no slave ships that came here because there were no ports in slavery, and that no African came directly from Africa because there were no ports for them to land in the southern Costa Rica. The search for those ships is being done by the youth, Afro and Bribri and Cabeccar, which are the indigenous peoples and territories here. It's being done by the youngest generation of those that inherited us, the legacy that we have here today, both in terms of culture, history, and the rest of nature. So I created Tonaina as the sea light, a character to tell the story of the sagas of these kids researching and searching in the bottom of the ocean through scuba diving, the roots of their identity in a place that, even though it's the most protected and also the one that has the highest level of multi or interculturality and multiculturality in the country, it is the place that has the highest level of youth suicide in the country. I will not tell you why, you know, because this is not happening only in the Caribbean and only to us. That this, como se dice, desarraigo, the unrootedness to which the generation is submitted to today through the telephones, the cell phones, the algorithms, is brutal. And their parents and their grandparents tell them that they are no longer indigenous, they're no longer Afro, because they are in tune with a communication that shows them a monoculture that has nothing to do with who they are. So I created this maternal ancestral character, Tonaina, the sea light, because children still listen to grandmothers. And in that uprootedness, just like as many of you have said, what happened to us as women who have also been left with memory, who have also been left with the strengths that we have and that we uncover when we look at our ancestry. Youth as a youth is like that. Boys and girls, they listen to grandmothers. They listen to stories. So that's what I did. I created this story. But in trying to figure out what to say to the conference about it, mind you, I didn't do so well in my presentation. I had to present Tonaina and her foundational story, and I did it in English for the first time, and it was horrible. I didn't realize, I forgot that you cannot tell. I can be very great in English when I speak rationally. I can't when I have to talk from my feelings and from my emotions and from my ancestry. So it didn't come out so well, but it was okay. I learned the lesson. The thing is that in talking about the presentation that I was going to do, in the meetings that we have with the Gift Economy Network, I met and was able to interact with Joan Mahler. And I came to discover prior to the conference, preparing for the conference, that what we were doing in our community, because I'm not the only one who has created myths. The myth of Tonaina as a sea light has as an origin the fact that all of the Afro-descendant community here say that they see lights in the point that is very close to the artifacts that are left of the sunken ships that we are researching to find the routes back to Africa. And that is a collective myth that the community has created today. I only gave it a name, and her name is Tonaina. And then throughout preparing for the conference and meeting Joan in one of our sessions, I came to realize that we were also continuing the legacy of Marija Gimbutas, who created archaeomythology. It blew my mind, and it has blown the mind of the kids and the participants in the community here. Maybe they don't know Marija Gimbutas, but when I say archaeomythology, they exactly know what I'm talking about. Because that's exactly what we are doing in building a underwater community archaeological project that is not only doing research, but searching for the uprootedness of the community, that is not only doing science, but is doing community science, and is not only doing the scientific method, but is linking it to the mythology that people have created around the things that were taken away from them, whether it be because we are women, or whether it be because they were disenfranchised from their own community, from their own life, from their own history, and from their own territories, and forced to come here in slavery. All of those connections are archaeomythology. I am really grateful to the conference organizers for a gift that came even before we got there, because that has taken us to a level of connectivity about what we're doing that transcends the connection between science and ancestral knowledge, the connection between story and history, and the connection between women and the work that we do when we acting or living or reliving or being grandmothers, whether we have children or not, it's irrelevant, that we can have with the new generation. I am really grateful to that. And this has unleashed a way in which we have been able to get the kids in the schools, because I immediately went to the high school. So now I'm going to talk about what has happened when I came back, because it has continued in ways that has affected people that were not even at the conference or the day of the Global Sisterhood. And when I went to the high schools to talk about what has happened with the archaeomythology, and also because at the same time when I came back, we had to do the broadest expedition, a communal expedition with 7 international archaeologists to search for the final proofs of the sunken ships, to make sure, to prove scientifically that they are the Danish slave ships. We haven't yet, but it was an amazing 2 weeks where all of it came together. And now the children are writing stories. Now the children are revisiting the stories of Tonaina. And now the children are realizing finally that scuba diving is not a sport, that it is a way to find the roots in the bottom of the ocean. But also, some of the outcomes have been, and I'm really excited about that, because it's things that happen without us even planning it or knowing about it, which is what you were talking about, the place of water in being so fluid and connecting us so much. We have South African woman. I'm looking for her name because I don't know her. She's coming 2 weeks from now. She's an South African woman that is an environmentalist and mythologist who is coming, changed her whole trip to come to Costa Rica because she read what I wrote about the conference and she wants to be a part of it. And she wants to study it for her PhD that she's doing about this. Also, Tara Roberts from National Geographic, journalist who has been doing work for us, is absolutely interested in the archaeomythology, and so she's also coming here. Also, there's another woman from Australia, Ria of the Waters. Those of you who remember my presentations after I came back from Bandana Shiva's conference in India, that she did a broadcast underwater with me, and she has sent us an amazing song about the Ganges River and the work that we did together to form part of this process. And we have co-opted John Marley to be our advisor in this archaeomythology for the project that we are developing about creating an institute where we can continue the connection that has emerged about the scientific method in the hands of a new generation and the ancestry and the mythology and the memory. We are creating an institute to be able to make sure that the children in our community and with everything that we do have an umbrella of those connections where they can continue the diving with a purpose, which is what we call it, that connects all of this by having a set of women creating an umbrella for them to continue making this ever more significant. And the last thing I want to say is that I propose that the next Congress be in Costa Rica for all of those purposes and everybody that I met there. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. That was great. Okay. Well, please enter any of your questions or comments into the chat. And I'm going to check with Liliana to see if she has something for us. So Liliana?
Yes, I have a question from Mary B. And she's asking to all the panelists, why these women conferences are so important in these times of global crisis and distraction? These are for all the panelists. And I can repeat the question.
Could you say it one more time?
Yes. Why these women's conferences are so important in these times of global crisis and distraction?
Okay.
Any of the panelists?
Yes. Sid? Why? Do you have any?
Sure. I think they're always important. But I think in particular at this time, we are coming to a level of consciousness about what we're doing that brings us the opportunity to move closer together, to realize the urgency of the issues at hand, but not to be overwhelmed by them, because we know from the whole science of oxytocin that if you get a group of women together, they will begin to stimulate the production of this hormone that helps us to bond, that helps us to feel a greater capacity to do in the world. In other words, it's the maternal bonding, which we all know about, but it's also the social bonding that we as women produce more easily than men. Men can produce it, but we produce it more easily because of our physiology. And oxytocin itself is a gift from our body wisdom that, among other things, enables us to calm down enough in the face of trauma or in the face of difficulties to reach out for one another and to be able to strengthen our bonds together. So I think it's more important than ever. And I think that anytime we do it, if you do it with a handful of women in your living room, you are still creating a bond that doesn't go away and that reduplicates itself as time goes forward. So every time we, come together to do something positive, it has a way of generating more positivity, which is just exactly what we've been hearing from these women today, I think. So absolutely, much more important.
Thank you. Jen, I wondered, would you like to respond to that question? Why you think these conferences are so important right now? And I'll turn it over. I'll check with the other panelists to see.
Yeah, I owe a lot to the fact that I've been able to go to many women's conferences over several decades. I got to go to the UN Decade for Women Final Conference in Nairobi in 1985. And then again, the 10-year anniversary of that in Beijing, but also to many other women's conferences. And it has raised my consciousness, and I owe really a lot of my feminism to that. And it is a question of bonding and oxytocin. Thank you, Sid, for talking about that. But I think it's also really a information, the gifts of information that we get from women from many different perspectives and origins, especially the international conferences. And so for me, it is this bonding of women across all of the boundaries is really the hope for survival of the planet. And the information that we share and the perspectives, the alternative perspectives to patriarchal capitalism that we put together and share. So that's what I think, yeah.
Thanks, Jen. Maya, Maria, I see your hand is up, and then I'll go to Maya.
Go to Maya. I didn't know if we had to tell you that we wanted to talk or not. Go to Maya and go in the order, and then I'll talk.
No, that's fine. Maya, would you like to respond to that?
So, yeah, I think the reason why these conferences are growing in number, it's a bliss, because they give the opportunity to women to connect, many times from all over the world, confronting different cultures. So it's like like Jen said, we share informations, we share consciousness also, because it's like the groups of the feminists in the past, of the suffragists. So we become conscious through talking, through connecting, through sharing. So becoming conscious, we weave relationships, and we know our rights. We become conscious of our rights. We become conscious we are not alone. We are not isolated, as patriarchy made us think. We are not isolated. We are not one against the other. It's just bullshit that patriarchy made us think. And we don't need to be one against the other. We need to be so just in a patriarchal pyramidal structure, but that's what we need to deconstruct. And that when we become conscious, we are not alone, we can be a group. We feel this oxytocin, as Sid said, we gain strength, we gain power, but not the power over or the under power, the power with. And so we can do whatever, and we can craft culture. We can create a new culture, and we can make a revolution of love. So we can bring changes, as women have always been the bringers of change in history. So I think that's why they're so important. They can
Thanks,
change the
Maya.
world.
Absolutely. Maria, and then I'll go to Aria. So Maria?
So I'm not going to repeat the ones before because I agree with Jen and also with Maya, but to me, that is a very important question because I have to respond it from the perspective of nowadays with the emergence of the Zoom and the internet and all of that. And I have a clear insight into the difference between having that technology that allows us to connect when we can't other ways and when we get together. Because we are a network, the Feminists for the Maternal Gift Economy, that have been meeting for 3 years every Wednesday. And we knew each other in that context. And some of us went to India a month ago to a meeting convened by Vandana Shiva and met each other as part that are part of the network. And then now we went to New York to meet with each other. And we had never met each other before in person, only through the internet. And it was amazing to me, the way in which we can connect with anything that we have. But the fact is that the difference is that when we meet through the internet, we don't eat together, we don't help each other out, we don't drink together, we don't embrace each other. We are talking, and that's great, and thank God we have it, but nothing substitutes for the reasons also that Sid talked about, and Jen and Maya, that our capacity to do the things that bring us together in community, like eating together, walking together, following schedules, listening and commenting, drinking a beer, whatever, that it can bring to strengthen the connection that is there, as Maya said.
Thanks, Maria. Aria?
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge, like Sid, you said oxytocin, right? And I really wanted to acknowledge what I feel is the relationship between the oxytocin and our waters, right? What our intentional flow of our waters, of our energy in motion, and how large, how really infinitesimal it is that when we get together, it not just changes worlds, but creates them. And so I really feel like, the gifts from the Assoc conference were, hey, I see you, I hear you, and it matters. And it's a part of that oxytocin. It's a part of that element that helps like ripple out. It helps the lemniscate of energy move in our world. And I really felt it. I feel very strongly about integration. So Maya, I heard everything you said about not being there in person, yet feeling a part of it. These braids, I've been doing this for about 20 years, because when you offered that, Maya, it was like, here's a physical way to support the conscious shift, the building of that oxytocin, of that connection and reciprocity with each other that you can carry in each footstep, in each footstep, in each breath, in each heartbeat. And so I'm noticing that worlds are created, not just changed, when we honor that. So that's really what I wanted to offer, because I felt it when we had an integration moment at the beginning of ASWAM and at the end of ASWAM. The beginning of it was our journey up to Auburn and then Seneca Falls, which was Harriet Tubman's home, and the park of the National Women's Rights Convention. So to go from those two things to feel the waters of my history, holy shit. Sitting on Harriet Tubman's porch. Everything that Maria is offering, that Guadalupe is offering, that Leticia is offering, that each and every one of you, that Sid is offering, it amplifies. It amplifies and suffuses who we are. So I'm very grateful for that, because I will be processing much of that information, which water and this conference has gifted so many of us different aspects of dissolving, of composting, the true terror, whether it's people of color, whether it is being a woman of the fecundity of life, the true terror that is at the base of the anger that comes out. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that in this space with sisters and grandmothers and mothers and aunties. Thank you.
Thanks, Aria. Judith, do you have any input that you want to offer here with why they're important now?
I would add that being together really energizes us. The level of energy of excited women in one place, whether it's in person or even online, like now, is really palpable. And it's a really good example of the maternal gift economy emphasis on relationships rather than on exchange and equivalence.
Thanks, Judith. Guadalupe, is there anything you'd like to offer? You need to unmute, my friend.
I think the most important is just to meet in person, to connect and feel that we are not alone. Because as I said before, we are living challenging times, and it's time to be a tribe, to make our tribes and take the decisive action to dismantle the patriarchy. Meeting each other, listening to each other, knowing that we are not a result of artificial intelligence, but a tribe that learns everything with all its senses. After a face-to-face meeting, there remains that certainty that we exist and we can move in many directions, collaborate with each other, and take the leap into the void. I think as an activist, as I said before, I have a connection to ancestral knowledge, and this is a kind of a very strong call in my life. I have been living many years disconnected of meetings and activities because I need it. But at the same time, I feel now I needed that time to be, like the cicadas under the earth, learning, listening in silence, and thinking and sharing sometimes. And now just ready to say, okay, Guadalupe, just get out of your nest, open your wings, and go ahead with the things you have to do. And it's only possible when I can meet another women, trying to find ways, different ways. This is the big challenge we have, the ways, because we have to invent everything to begin again. The patriarchy took everything from us. We cannot talk about any topic of our lives where they are there changing, transforming. Oh, no, not transforming in a very bad way about what we want to do. So that's why I think, I enjoy a lot the idea. Many women were talking about the goddess in this conference. And I thought, how important is this? Because when I go to visit the indigenous territories here in the South where I live, most of them are talking about Iridia. Iridia is the God, the earth child. Is when the child was a little one. Iridia, it's wonderful. It's just someone who is trying to learn a lot of things to change and to grow up. And I think that's what we do when we get together. That's what we do, just to find the tools, to invent the tools, and to dare, you know, to do it. Let's do it. I don't want to feel me alone in this. But it's very important at the same time for me when I was there to the diversity of minds, you know, and activities. It's a challenge for me. It's not only me, my mind, what I do, my things, but what about the others? It was interesting for me, this big world around me, this big world, this a lot of different ways of being an activist or living your spirituality in different ways. So that's what I can say. I think we have to, this is the time and no other. And we don't have time to wait more. This is a time really to get together. We need to do it now, because otherwise we're gonna lose this opportunity. Never. I mean, the patriarchy just falling down. We know that. We know this beast is just moving here and there, you know, in trying to show that that it is strong, but there is any strength there, any strength. When we get together, we know exactly what strength is. And we can understand the panic the patriarchy has when they see us together. And we have to do it because that is our strength. And that's the way how we can really make big change. Listening between us, understanding the differences, respecting the ways we are using, and trying to learn from the other. Understanding that there are a lot of different kind of possibilities. We have a lot of doors that we can open. And if if I can open the door in the way that I want, there is another one who open a door and I can go with her there. That's what I feel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Guadalupe. Sid, you have your hand up.
I do. I probably can't ever get it down again, but we'll try. Two quick ideas come to mind. One of which is I'm hearing a conversation with Sherry Mitchell where she was saying someone had asked her, because we are at a precipitous time, we're at, this is kind of make it or break it, you know, and we all know that. And we came to Syracuse knowing that. And what Sherry said was someone had asked, well, do you think that this is all going to succeed? And she said, I don't know for certain, but I do know that I will be, if it doesn't, I will be in the very best company when we need each other the most. And so I keep coming back to that kind of simplicity of, this is the company I want to be in for whatever comes along. And with that in mind, I just want to add one more little thing about body wisdom, which is that what you all were doing when you were making your braids is integrating the knowledge. You know, we have a hard time as women. We spend a lot of time up here. We can't help it. We've got to have papers. We got to have proceedings. We got to have something that looks like a conference. But we also know that you came in with these beautiful, powerful, physical bodies and your own presence. And so when you make a braid, you are bridging all of the kinds of learning that you need. When we greet each other and we hug each other, we are moving from just the head into the head being part of the body now and giving us the wisdom we need. So just as a tiny little thing, those of you who have those braids, if you get home and you start to feel discouraged or you start to feel isolated at all, that's your open door. You now have that where you made it, it's real, it's part of you. And when you touch it and bring it out and think about it again, yeah, we'll be there, right? We'll show up. That's what we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Sid. That was fabulous. Well, that was a fabulous round. My goodness, you women have so many great ideas and a rallying call to action. Let's get together, gals. I mean, so let's do it. Let's check in with Liliana and see if there are other questions that we probably have only, if we go with the whole panel, we only have a room for one more question. But Liliana, let's see what's going on here.
Yeah, Jenny's asking Guadalupe to tell more about Iridia, how to spell it, and if it's the Earth Child.
Yeah,
And then I have another question from Maria Suarez about when will be the publishing of her book, and what is the meaning of the main actor in the book called Tonaina? What is the meaning of the name? Those are two questions. I'm sorry, I just wanted to get it in. But the first question for you, Guadalupe, about Iridia.
I would like to can you repeat just the last, last part?
Yeah, can you just spell the name? Can you spell it?
It's I-R-I-R-I, yeah, I-R-I-R-I-A, Iridia.
Oh, Iridia, okay.
Yeah, La Niña Tierra, sí, La Niña Tierra, so simple.
So it's the Earth Child.
Yeah.
Girl.
Okay.
Niña is girl.
Yeah. Girl.
Yes. Okay, good. And then for
Maria Suarez.
Maria, is your book available now for purchase? I know it's only in Spanish.
So I have published 2 books already. This one came out in 2017 in Spanish by the University of Costa Rica, and it's called Tonaina, The Mysterious Cave of a Lionfish in the Bottom of the Ocean in the Caribbean. And then the other one, I don't even have a copy because it went out of print, that came out recently, which is the big book about with 12 chronicles about the search for the sunken ships and the work in our community. And I have a third one that I have to submit on Monday to the long distance university with its children's stories about Tonaina. The second one is available, and I will send the link, not now because I'm using the cell phone, but I will send the link and maybe you can forward it because you can get it in Spanish. There is a university in Montana that is working with professors that teach Spanish in translating the book into English. It's a big book, but it's been translated into English. And the children's books of Tonaina, which I have been working on until Monday when I have to submit it, is a book that's going to be published by the Long Distance University, all free of charge, which means a gift to all of you who want it and can get it. And they will all be available in the same way. And Tonaina means sea light, la luz marina, the boe de je in Iriria's language, which is the Bribri and the Cabeca, and the sea light. And it is a light that the Afro communities say that they see in the darkest nights in Punta Cahuita here, only about 550 meters from the wrecks of the ships that we are researching that might change the history of Costa Rica in this sense that I explained in my presentation. I also have a long paper for the conference that I didn't present because I only presented a short story. And I will make that available. I told Sid that I was going to send it and make it available. And it has why it was created, what it has meant, the children's stories that they have written about Tonaina, because they have integrated that character into their own story writing and things like that. Thank you for asking. It's very dear to me because Tonaina is also changing my life. I didn't realize it, but I ended up asking in difficult times to Tonaina, what would you do? And she's incredible because I am very grounded, not grounded, that's okay, but I am very, I don't know, hyperactive. And Tonaina, because she's ancestral and she's matriarchal, and she says, slow down, think about it, see how you feel about it. So I find myself asking her almost as much as I asked the tarot, Tonaina, what would you do? What would you do in my case? And she's bringing me a lot of knowledge that I don't have.
Wonderful. Well, I am doing a time check for all of us. It's amazing that we've almost come to the end of our session. So I would love to give each of our panelists a moment to just have a closing statement and what you would like to close this session out with. So Sid, let's go with you. Is there something that you'd like to close with, you'd like to offer to this group?
I think what I would mostly like to say is just, again, what an honor it is to be with all of you and to know that we are reaching lots of folks, and to remember that oxytocin is also carried forth across Zoom. It's a smaller amount, but we can have some. And just to say that I hope we are and continue to be encouraged, because you are indeed my tribe, as Guadalupe said. We must move toward becoming a tribe. And I feel as though somehow with this conference and with the people I've met there, we have taken another giant step in that direction. And that gives me comfort just about every day when I'm taking a walk in this little town in downtown Western Pennsylvania. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Sid, for joining us today. It was wonderful having you. Maya, would you like to have some closing words for us?
Yes. Well, the statement is, let's support each other. Let's help each other as women to open wide and develop our strong wings, knowing that we can fly together in a group, and we can fly also sometimes enjoying time alone, knowing that we is made of many I. So let's support each other's splendor, and let's shine singularly and all together. And let's make this support between women a political act.
Thanks, Maya. Aria.
Yes. Thank you so much for all of you and the footsteps that brought you to this moment. It is a true blessing. In my mind, in my thinking of the sacred waters, how we nourish and sustain each other. So thank you, Asmam, Sid, and the many beautiful beings that helped to make that up. Thank you for the maternal gift economy. And I would just like to share gratitude as what people probably would express as from a person of color. The diversity matters. It's not just color. It is actually how we breathe, how we receive, all of it. And so I say thank you in that. And in that, I say thank you to Darlene Graham, who is one of the Western Shoshone spiritual teachers and also my language teacher. And so I just offer this small prayer that Dame Appa, our creator, Ashe Ashe the Badoy. Thank you for the sun coming out. Ashe Ashe Dame Nanua. Thank you for our family. Sundahai Sori Hagade Esindisque. Bless those who are sick. Dame Ashe Ashe. Dame Takape Waiba. We give thanks for our food and water. Dame Ashe Ashe Ayuna de Sundahai. We thank you for your blessings. Wikaba Oyoseke Waimanagu. We watch over everyone near and far. My Oyunade de Devia. This is all we ask. Buha buha. Blowing blessings.
Thank you, Aria. For those of you who may not be aware, the Shoshone is the territory in which the temple is on. So there's a relationship there with the local indigenous people. And Darlene is the spiritual elder of the Shoshone people. So thank you, Aria, for offering that blessing. Judith, last words.
In case you haven't been at some of our previous sessions, just to let you know that twinkling is a method of communication that comes from the way the deaf community, the people in the deaf community applaud. And so when I or somebody twinkles at you, it means I don't want to disturb the flow of what you're saying, but I agree with you, or I think you're making an important point. So twinkles to you all.
Thank you so much, Judith. Guadalupe.
Just to say thank you. Just to say thank you for the experience, for this moment that we are sharing now. And that I hope we can continue sharing all the activities we are doing and to meet again in another conference. And I hope that we maybe can talk a little bit more. I really would like to talk more about the participation of women from this part of the world, especially Central America, because, you know, Central America is a kind of invisible land, and they are using this land for all terrible things, wars, using, you know, military bases, a lot of things, and nobody knows anything about Central America, because that's the plan. Don't talk about that. You know, ancient civilizations, and the children of those civilizations are alive here in these lands. But it doesn't matter, because this land doesn't exist. You can talk about South America, North America, but we don't exist. But here in the center of the Americas, our lungs are living, are alive, and we know that we have been used for many years, more than 100 years, just to plan terrible things against our lands in all the Americas. So thank you very much for this meeting. I hope we can continue exchanging, or I don't know, it's a word that I'm learning to don't use. Now it's very interesting. I'm learning a lot how to take this patriarchal language out of your, you know, it's very interesting. So learning every day. Now, thank you very much for everything.
Maria.
So I want to express my gratitude, but also I have to tell you that I miss you a lot. It's amazing. When I came back, I missed our nights together. I missed our going out in the bus to all those places together. I missed our lunches. I missed our talks. I missed our dancing. I missed our singing. I missed our loving. I missed the tarot that we played. So this is why I'm going to finish with a dream that I have and I expressed in the last session. See it? Are you listening to me? I have a dream because I went to India to the Vandana Shiva conference. I went to the ashram conference, and I talked to my indigenous communities in Latin America and the world. And every week I meet with the Feminists for the Gift Economy. I have a dream that we can have a conference where we can bring those 4 constituencies together to enhance everything that we have talked about, and even what we haven't talked about yet, because we haven't talked enough. But we love a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Jen, do you have some closing words you'd like to say to us?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the word communication is built on the word muni, which means gifts in Latin. And so communication and community are giving gifts together. And we've been giving our gifts together, and you all did that in the conference and all of the conferences that women do together, and all of our work together. We are communicating, and we're communicating a better world.
Thank you, Jen. We're so sorry that we weren't able to get to all the questions that came in a rapid fire towards the end, but we'll make sure that each of the panelists receive a copy of them. And you can always contact us at our email address, maternalgifteconomy@gmail.com, for questions and comments. And we'll make sure that your question gets directed to the right person, and we'll write back to you. I want to thank all of our speakers: Sid Rieger, Maya Vasilo, Aria Marie Sharp, Judith Woke, Guadalupe Urbina, Maria Suarez Toro, for all the wonderful words that you shared, your memories and your wisdom. To our tech support, Diane and Liliana, who furiously was looking at the chat for questions. Thank you for organizing that. And Jen, thank you always. And the International Feminists for a Gift Economy, who inspire us to continue to move this economy into the world. We would like to thank you all for being with us today. I know there's lots of things that you could be doing. Please encourage your friends to watch our recordings. In 2 weeks, we're going to have another wonderful salon on June 10th, salon number 47, The Gifts of Local Interdependence, with Helen Norberg Hodge and Pat McCabe, Woman Stand Shining. So that ought to be a very interesting conversation. And then again, a special book event on Saturday, July 15th with two of our network women. I think Karina is on was with us today in the Zoom room. Karina Kylo and Barbara Mann. They'll introduce their newly released book, The Woman Who Married the Bear: The Spirituality of Ancient Foremothers. So please join us again in 2 weeks. The recording of today's salon will be posted on our website, thematernalgifteconomy.org. We'll see you June 10th for salon number 47. Everyone, please stay safe, be well, be kind to one another, and answer this rallying call of get together with groups of women. Conference and party on, my friends. Peace. Take good care, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.